Summary of Canto 4, Chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaja returns home. Being reassured by the Lord, the demigods were relieved of their fear and they returned. Then the Lord got on the back of Garuda and went to Madhuvan to see his servant Dhruva Maharaj. This incarnation of the Lord who went to see Dhruva Maharaj is called as Prishnigarbha. He created the planet known as Dhruvaloka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. The brilliant lightning-like form of the Lord on which Dhruva was fully absorbed in meditation suddenly disappeared, and being perturbed, he opened his eyes. But he saw the same Lord, the same form right in front of him, situated externally. Upon seeing the Lord, he was greatly agitated and he offered prostrated obeisances. He seemed to drink his sweetness with his eyes, kiss his lotus feet with his mouth, and embrace him with his arms. All these features indicated that he had developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasies in his body. The Lord then touched Dhruva with his conch. Understanding Dhruva's desire to offer prayers and his inability to do so, the Lord very mercifully touched his conch, which was non different from the Vedas, Brahmamaya, to his forehead. When one is thus transcendently inspired by the Lord, he becomes perfectly aware of all Vedic conclusions, and the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound of the vibration of the Vedas. As a result of the touch of the Lord's conch on Dhruva, he attained words to describe the Lord. He understood the knowledge of the Lord and the Jiva, and he offered his deliberate and conclusive prayers to the Lord, whose fame is widespread. He said, "Obeisances unto you who are all powerful and who have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, skin, life force, and especially the power of speech by your internal energy." The Lord enlivens the senses of his devotees with the help of his internal energy. That same energy as external potency engages others in material activities of sense enjoyment, and their senses become material senses. Thus, things are manifested differently to different people. He said, "You are the Supreme One, but by your energy, Atma Shakti called Maya, composed of gunas, you created the universe. As Super Soul, you enter the material senses and manifest things differently." Brahma could see and understand the universe by the knowledge given to you by his surrender. You are the shelter of the aspirants of liberation and the friend of the distress. How can a learned person ever forget your lotus feet? So according to the Acharyas, this verse describes 3 types of devotees who approach the Lord. The Lord gives knowledge to the Jnani Bhakta to see the world. The Lord's lotus feet are the shelter of the Jignasu Bhakta, and the Lord is the friend of the Artha Bhakta. Dhruva Maharaj said, "Actually, foolish people influenced by your Maya worship you for material benedictions, which are available even in hell, although you are like a desire tree and the very cause of liberation." Here, therefore, Dhruva Maharaj considered himself a foolish Artharthi Bhakta, who is the lowest among the 4 Sukritina Bhaktas, who desire material benedictions from the Lord. So when he glorified the Lord as a desire tree and a giver of liberation, does it mean that the ultimate benefit of worshipping the Lord is just liberation, which is Brahmananda? No. Dhruva Maharaj next said that the bliss derived from meditation on your lotus feet, hearing your glories from pure devotees, is far beyond this Brahmananda. Then what to speak of heavenly happiness, which is very, very temporary. But however, bhakti will not be mature and relishable without the association of devotees. So therefore, Dhruva Maharaj, he prays for that association. He said, "I want the association of devotees who are pure-hearted and who engage in bhakti constantly. Thus, I shall easily cross over this material universe, this dangerous Bhavasagara, and because I will be drinking the nectar of your qualities and pastimes constantly." One who takes the association of devotees whose hearts have smelled the fragrance of your lotus feet does not care for this material body, offspring, friends, home, wealth, wife, and so on. From these verses, it is to be understood that destruction of samsara is only a secondary effect of bhakti that is unsought by devotees. Now the Lord might ask, if you knew that devotees do not care for material things, then why did you worship me for material position? So Dhruva said, "Previously I only knew the variety of gross and subtle elements manifested as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, humans, and the total universal form, but I had never experienced your supreme form as I behold it now. All ways of theorizing have now come to an end after seeing you." The Lord might ask, if you know me now, then tell me whom I am. So that is when Dhruva Maharaj glorifies the Lord. He says at the end of the Kalpa, everything manifested within the universe and it enters into the Lord's belly. The Lord lies on Seshanag and from his navel sprouts a golden lotus on which Brahma appears. I offer my respects to that Lord. Now the Lord might ask, how am I different from the jivas? Like as if I go to sleep, because I go to sleep. Then Dhruva Maharaj, he describes the difference between the Lord and the jivas. He says, the Lord is eternally liberated. However, the jivas are liberated only by the Lord's mercy. The Lord is completely pure. The jivas are contaminated. The Lord is omniscient. The jiva has very little knowledge. The Lord is the supreme soul, but the jivas have material bodily covering. The Lord is changeless, but the jivas take many forms. The Lord is the original personality and the cause of everything, but the jivas are not the cause of everything. The Lord is filled with six opulences. The jivas are without good qualities. The Lord is the master of the three modes, and the jivas are controlled by these three modes. The Lord is stable in intelligence, and for the jivas, intelligence is subject to conditions of walking, sleeping, and dreaming. The Lord is the constant seer through the Chit Shakti of the Lord, while the jivas have disrupted vision because his intelligence undergoes waking, sleeping, and dreaming. The Lord is situated in action of maintaining the universe, while the jivas cannot even maintain themselves. The Lord is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, while the jivas are dependent on sacrifices. The Supreme Person is the original cause of all causes, but Brahman is the immediate cause of manifestation. Therefore, Dhruva offered his respects to Brahman also. He spoke about the qualities of Brahman, that he has various energies with contrary nature. He is the cause of material creation. It is one, unlimited, original, blissful, and changeless. The Lord might say that I agree that you know my Swarupa, though you have no material desire now, I will give you what you desired earlier. So describing his ignorance, Dhruva prays for sweetness of bhakti to the lotus feet of the Lord and for protection from material desires which are obstacles to bhakti. So the Lord said, so Dhruva Maharaj told, O Lord, your lotus feet are the highest attainable blessings, surpassing all material blessings. You are the very form of all human goals, and you are obtainable by those who worship you without material desire. You mercifully maintain even the ignorant devotees like me, just like how a cow which protects her calf always maintains her calf and gives the calf protection. A cow gives milk to an ignorant calf and protects it from wild animals, even though the calf does not serve her. Similarly, the Lord lets even the wretched persons who worship him with material desires have taste for the sweetness of bhakti at his lotus feet. After Dhruva Maharaj offered such beautiful prayers, the Lord, hearing the prayers of intelligent Dhruva, who had good intentions, the Lord, who was very kind to his servants, began to speak to him. He said, Bhadram Te, O Prince, you have executed pious vows, and I know your desire. Although your desire is very difficult to fulfill, I will abort it along with Prema, Bhadram Te. Dhruva was now aspiring for the stage of love of God and became afraid of his previous material desires. Here, the Lord assured him that he would not be bereft of the love of God by saying, Bhadram Te, all good fortune unto you. The Lord said, I shall award you Dhruva Loka, which continues to exist even after dissolution, which is not ruled by anyone, which is circumambulated by all the luminaries like bulls treading around a central pole to grind grains. It is circumambulated by all the stars inhabited by the great sages like Dharma, Agni, Kashyapa, and Shukra, keeping it to their right. You will rule with Dharma for 36,000 years after your father retires to the forest. Your senses will remain very strong. Your brother Uttama will die in a future situation while hunting, and his mother Suruchi will be devoured by a forest fire when she goes in search of him. After worshipping me, the heart of sacrifice, by sacrifice and great charities, and after enjoying blessings of this world, you will remember me at the time of death. Thereafter, you will go to my planet Dhruvaloka, which is worshipped by all the planets, and it is situated above the planets of the seven rishis. Having gone there, you will not return. Dhruva, or the pole star, is the abode of Lord Vishnu within this material world. Upon it, there is the ocean of milk, within which is an island called Shvetadvipa. At the time of dissolution of this universe, the eternal Dhruvaloka remains like other Vaikuntha Lokas beyond this universe. Then the Lord left after being worshipped, and after offering Dhruva his own abode, the Lord, sitting on the back of Garuda, returned to his abode. Despite achieving the desired result of his determination by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Dhruva was not very pleased. He returned to his home. Now, when Maitreya said this, Vidura inquired about Dhruva's displeasure. He said, in just one life, Dhruva achieved the Lord's abode by worshipping his lotus feet. This is very rare. Though very wise, why did he still feel so unfulfilled? Maitreya said, Dhruva, remembering his past aspirations, felt totally unqualified to accept liberation awarded by the Lord. Hence, with intense shame, regret, humility, and disgust, he began to blame himself. When the Lord said that he would fulfill his material desires and also punish his stepmother, Dhruva became very ashamed and repented, thinking the Lord knew his crime of possessing material desires, being not having the service mentality towards the Lord and always thinking about serving his senses. So Dhruva began to lament. He thought, having attained the shade of the Lord's lotus feet in just 6 months, which even great personalities like the Kumaras could attain only after many births, even after that, I fell down from that position because of having material desires. Dhruva remembered that he was situated in the shade of the Lord who was seated on Garuda, and yet this was his position. He thought, I desired perishable things, although attaining the lotus feet of the Lord who can destroy material existence. I am so unfortunate. I am so foolish. The demigods bewildered my intelligence. They were intolerant and envious of my being elevated to Vaikuntha. So, therefore, I could not accept the genuine advice of Narada. Taking shelter of the Lord's Maya, I was sleeping on her lap under a vision of duality. I saw my brother as my enemy and falsely lamented. I prayed for useless things, which are like medicine given to a dead man. Having pleased the Lord, who is very difficult to please, I prayed for material enjoyment devoid of good fortune. I wanted material prosperity, name and fame. Although the Lord offered me his personal service, I was like a foolish poor man who asks only for a few grains of broken rice from an emperor. Then Vidura looked at Maitreya and told Maitreya looked at Vidura, and Maitreya told Vidura, persons like you who taste the dust from Mukunda's lotus feet are always satisfied in serving him and never ask for material prosperity. Their minds are completely satisfied with whatever comes on its own accord. Now Maitreya describes to Vidura about Dhruva's returning from Madhuvan and meeting his relatives. King Uttanapad couldn't believe his great fortune when he heard that Dhruva was coming back home. Nevertheless, keeping faith on Narada's words, Uttanapad became elated and presented the messenger with valuable necklace. Then he eagerly came out of the city on a chariot with elders, ministers, and friends, and surrounded with the sounds of conches, drums, flutes, and chanting of the Vedas, he proceeded. Suniti, Suruchi, and Uttama also came out riding in a palanquin. After being comforted by Narada, Uttanapad showed favor to Dhruva's mother and did not show favor to Uttama's mother, Suniti. Uttama's mother, Suruchi. Suniti, endowed with the best of her behavior, however, had Suruchi and Uttama ride in her same palanquin. Seeing Dhruva, Uttanapad hastily got down from his chariot, and with great affection he embraced the boy who had destroyed all his unlimited sins by the touch of the Lord's lotus feet. His long-cherished desire fulfilled, the king smiled with Dhruva's head again and again and bathed him with his tears. Dhruva, who is the foremost of all devotees, paid obeisances to his father's feet and bowed his head at the feet of his two mothers. Dhruva paid obeisances to Suruchi also, because after seeing the Lord, he was completely freed from all contamination of material desire and dualities. Suruchi also blessed Dhruva. Seeing Dhruva fallen at her feet, Suruchi picked him up, embraced him, and with tears blessed him, saying, "May you live long." So how is it that Suruchi is showing affection to Dhruva, whom she hated so much before? Because everyone respects a devotee. All living beings naturally offer respect to a person who has transcendental qualities due to friendly behavior with the Lord, just as how water automatically flows down by nature. Uttama and Dhruva embraced each other and they were overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love and affection. Their hair stood on end and they shed torrents of tears. Suniti embraced Dhruva, who was dearer to her than her own life. Like this, she forgot all material grief and was satisfied by just touching his body. Suniti was the mother of this great hero Dhruva. She bathed him with her tears and milk. People began to praise Suniti. They said, "By good fortune, your son, the destroyer of all suffering, has come back after being lost for a long time. He will protect this whole earth. You must have worshipped the Lord who delivers his devotees from dangers to have him. Persons who constantly meditate upon him conquer unconquerable death." Back in the city, everyone was praising Dhruva. The king, being pleased, placed Dhruva and his brother on an elephant and returned to his city. There was beautiful decorations in the city. The whole city was decorated with columns of banana trees, betel nut trees, and many shark-shaped archways. The doors were draped with mango leaves, colored cloth, and strings of pearls, and decorated with water pots and lamps. The gates, walls, and domes of the city were all decorated with golden ornaments. The streets and watchtowers of the entire place had been cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood water. Flowers and fruits and auspicious grains such as rice and barley were scattered all over the city. The chaste women offered their blessings upon Dhruva as he passed on the road, showering him with white mustard seeds, barley, curd, water, Dhruva grass, fruits, and flowers. While hearing their pleasing songs, Dhruva entered the palace. Dhruva thereafter lived in his father's palace covered with valuable jewels and being cared for by his affectionate father. He lived like a demigod in heaven. The bedding of that place was as white as the milk foam and it was very soft. The bedsteads were made of ivory and with embellishments of gold, and the chairs and benches and other furniture were made of pure gold. The walls were made of marble with many kinds of engravings made of valuable jewels, which depicted beautiful women with jewel lamps in their hands. There were pleasant gardens filled with trees from heaven. Those trees had pairs of sweetly singing birds and buzzing, intoxicating bumblebees. The lakes were filled with emeralds, with beautiful lotuses, which were both blue and white in color. The staircases were studded with emeralds. The swans, ducks, and chakravaka birds were all filled up in the lakes, and the cranes were enjoying in these beautiful lakes. Saintly Uttanapada, he wondered, hearing and seeing the great influence of Dhruva. Seeing Dhruva's maturity, the minister's approval, and the citizens' love for him, Uttanapada enthroned Dhruva as the emperor of this planet. Uttanapada then retired. After considering his advanced age and deliberating on the welfare of the spiritual self, King Uttanapada became detached and entered the forest. Thus ends the summary of Canto 4, Chapter 9, Dhruva Maharaj returns home. Hare Krishna.